Hi, Professor Wainaina here, your 5 minutes teacher on education, childhood, youth, parenting, and all things school. Welcome. When you think about what you provide for your children, you might list accomplishments, career sacrifices, financial stability, and perhaps a few luxuries you've managed to secure for them. You're proud of your dedication to your career, proud of the respect and status you've earned, and perhaps even the home you've provided. But let's pause here. Have you considered that none of this is what your children actually care about? From a young age, children interpret the world through their immediate environment, their connections, and their feelings of security. They are not preoccupied with whether the car outside is new or used, nor do they concern themselves with or care about your professional accolades. Rather, they care deeply about you, your healthy, present self, engaging with them, supporting them, and making them feel safe and wanted. Developmental psychology underscores that child's primary needs revolve around attachment and trust in their caregivers, far outweighing their focus on material provisions. These attachments establish an emotional and psychological bedrock for your child, grounding their sense of self and their confidence in the world. Children's attachment to parents forms the template for all future relationships and is reinforced by our caregivers' attentive presence. In simple terms, children need you to show up with undivided attention far more than they need you to provide wealth or status. When your attention is fixed on external markers of success, you will shift your focus away from what your child truly requires. Children can sense when they are not the focus. Their intuitive understanding of parental priorities is sharper than you might assume. Psychologist Donald Winnicott's work on good enough parenting explains that children need caregivers who are present, responsive, and emotionally accessible, not perfect, nor preoccupied by external achievements. Your kids won't care about that promotion or how large the family home is. They will remember whether you were there, genuinely listening to their stories and worries, making them feel like they mattered. Think about your daily interactions. When you come home, what do you bring with you? A tired, distracted vision of yourself, or one that shows up to be fully engaged in your child's world, however chaotic or mundane? A child only feels truly supported when they sense they are more important than your smartphone, your deadlines, or your ambition. If your priorities lean towards constantly providing a better life at the expense of your presence, then that better life you are striving for will be the reason they will eventually feel emotionally disconnected from you. You may rationalize this pursuit of a more comfortable life by saying, I'm doing this for them. But that logic, though seemingly selfless, overlooks the actual needs of a child's psyche. Research on child development, including work by Gabor Mate, argues that societal focus on material success creates emotionally starved children who crave connection over material gain. They don't want your overtime hours or the sacrifices you make for an improved lifestyle. They want you. The simplest, most human form of parental engagement. What then does this presence look like? It's a commitment to sharing moments without distraction, listening to stories about their day with genuine interest, and taking time to engage in their world. Get involved in their activities, undistracted. You build a sense of safety and worth that no amount of income or recognition or social status can provide. Your child needs then are strikingly simple yet profound. They need you to be there in ways that show them they are important, not because of what they have or what you provide, but because they are loved and valued by you. They need to know they are cherished in the simplest, most accessible way through your undivided presence. So, as you think about your goals and ambitions, ask yourself, are you pursuing these for them or for you? In the end, you may realize that what your child craves is not the life you aim to provide, but the life you share. Don't just count the costs of what you sacrifice. Remember that your presence, not your provisions, is your child's true inheritance. Thank you for your time. See you in the next lesson. It is almost cliche these days to hear, believe in your child. You may wonder, does it really matter if I believe in my child, or is it just another feel-good platitude touted by parenting experts online? The answer, grounded in decades of research, is clear. Your belief in your child is not just a warm and fuzzy notion. It is a powerful force that shapes your child's reality. The famous Robert Rosenthal experiment, also known as the Pygmalion effect, exposes just how much your expectation can influence your child's intellectual development and performance, and even IQ. If you think that believing in your child is optional, then you're missing out on one of the most important aspects of parenting. Rosenthal's study was conducted in an actual classroom with real children, and the results were astonishing. Teachers were told that certain students were identified as having high potential based on a special test. By the end of the year, these so-called high potential students showed significantly greater gains in IQ and academic achievement. Here is the kicker. There was nothing special about these students. The story given to the teachers about their ability was a fabrication, and the students had been singled out at random. What does this tell you? It tells you that when teachers believed in their students' potential, it transformed how the students performed. Why? Because when the teachers thought that some children were destined for greatness, the teachers unconsciously altered their behavior. They gave more time, offered more encouragement, and asked more challenging questions and provided better feedback. They treated these children as if they were indeed special. And guess what? The children responded by becoming the very students the teachers thought they were. The experiment didn't change the children's potential. It changed their teachers' beliefs, and that was enough to ignite real change in the students' performance. So, what does this mean for you as a parent? It means that your belief in your child is not a trivial thing. If you treat it like it is, you are not only doing your child a huge disservice, you are actively undermining their growth. Children pick up on the signals you send, whether you mean to send them or not. They can sense whether you believe in their abilities or see them as limited, even if you never say a word. When you radiate belief in their potential, it changes the way they see themselves. It creates a mindset of growth, resilience, and motivation. When you act like your child is incapable or needs to be coddled to avoid failure, it has the opposite effect. You are effectively telling them that they don't have what it takes. But you also can't overlook the role of teachers. If teachers don't share your belief in your child, it's not just an unfortunate oversight, it's a barrier to your child's success. And do not underestimate the effect of a teacher who is indifferent to your child's abilities. They are undoing all the believing that you are doing with your child. Engage with your child's teachers, not as passive partners, but as active advocates for your child. Make sure they know your child's strengths, interests, and what makes them tick. If a teacher doesn't believe in your child, do not treat it lightly. It is your responsibility to challenge that mindset and demand change. If the attitude persists, get alternatives for your child. Don't let anyone shortchange your child's future by holding low expectations or being indifferent. The damage is just too severe. The bottom line is this: belief in your child isn't optional. The Rosenthal experiment makes it clear that your child's performance isn't just about innate ability. It's about the belief-driven environment you help create for them. If you're content to think that your child is just okay, then don't be surprised when they achieve just okay. But if you choose to believe, really believe in their capacity for greatness, act accordingly, and demand it from their teachers, then you are setting them up for success. Believing in your child isn't a sentimental choice. It's a deliberate act with profound consequences. Your expectations, whether you know it or not, have real power. Use it wisely. Thank you for your time. See you in the next lesson. At its core, parenting is not about shared governance. It is by nature a hierarchy, one that positions you as a parent at the helm. Children need this structure, a clear and reliable source of authority, to feel secure and guided in a world that is still new and often overwhelming to them. They don't need a friend who bends to their every wish, nor a dictator who insists on unyielding obedience. They need an authoritative figure, someone who holds the reins with understanding and purpose, embodying a model of respect and fair-minded authority. The need for a structured hierarchy in parenting is pretty well documented. Research shows that children thrive under authoritative parenting, a balanced approach that combines warmth and responsiveness with firm, clear boundaries. An authoritative parent exercises consistent leadership, setting limits while remaining attuned to a child's needs and emotions. This differs fundamentally from authoritarian parenting, which relies heavily on control and demands compliance without room for discussion. It also stands apart from permissive parenting, where boundaries are loose, leaving children uncertain and often anxious about their environment. Children naturally test boundaries as they explore their independence, which is a vital part of their development. Yet, when boundaries are absent, inconsistent, or overly rigid, children begin to feel insecure, leaving them not knowing how to navigate the world. In authoritative parenting, your role is to guide, not to control, recognizing that a child needs the freedom to grow within a safe structure. The established hierarchy you create provides a dependable framework that gives your child both the confidence and the clarity to navigate choices and mistakes. The balance here is delicate but critical. You may feel compelled to grant your child freedom in the spirit of modern liberal parenting, but child psychology indicates that too much freedom, especially when it overrules parental authority, can lead to heightened stress and insecurity in children. Authoritative parenting does not mean harsh control or stifling regulations. It means communicating expectations clearly and empathetically. It allows room for your child to question and explore, yet reassures them that ultimately someone is in charge, someone who has both their welfare and growth in mind. The concept of authoritative parenting finds strong support in attachment theory, which suggests that a child's primary need is for a stable base, a caregiver who offers consistent, secure guidance. Children who grow up with clear and fair boundaries feel safer to explore their independence precisely because they know where the limits are. This dynamic creates a relationship of mutual respect where your child feels valued and hard, yet also understands that certain decisions lie within the parent's authority. Let's consider the example of a captain guiding a ship. The captain's role is not merely to set the course and dictate every move, but to maintain steady, reassuring presence that instills trust among the crew. Your children, much like young crew members, need to sense that someone is steering the ship, someone who knows when to tighten the sails and when to let them loose. And an authoritative parent is this kind of captain, setting the course, adjusting as needed, but never relinquishing control of the ship's direction. As a modern parent, you should embrace this hierarchy with compassion and fairness and model a balanced approach to authority that your child will internalize. They will learn that being in charge doesn't require harshness or unchecked freedom, but a respectful understanding of both limits and liberties. This balanced structure lays a foundation for them to navigate relationships, decision making, and self-discipline as they grow older. In this sense, parenting is not a democracy where every whim has equal weight, but a guided journey where the child's growth is securely anchored by your firm and caring authority. So, consider your role. Are you setting a course that they can trust or drifting with the winds of their desires? To lead your children well is not to bend or break, but to stand firm, letting them feel the unwavering assurance of your presence, a lighthouse in the fog of life's uncertainties. It's not a democracy. It's a hierarchy with you at the top. Thank you for your time. See you in the next lesson. Parenting is one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences, and yet many parents fall into a common trap, which is focusing on their child's behavior as the problem that needs fixing. But what if the root of the issue isn't your child's action, but in your parenting style? Children are remarkably adaptive beings who respond directly to the environments they are raised in. Their behavior is often a reflection of that environment, which includes the attitudes, actions, and emotions of you, the parent. To change your child's behavior, you need to look in the mirror and consider how your parenting style might be contributing to the very problems you're trying to fix. Research supports this concept, indicating that parenting styles significantly influence children's behaviors and emotional well-being. Diana Baumridd's pioneering work on parenting style, authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and neglective styles, illustrates how children adapt to the framework their parent adopts. Authoritative parenting, which combines warmth with structure, is widely regarded as the most effective in creating balanced, independent, and socially adept children. On the other hand, authoritarian parents who emphasize strict rules and discipline without much warmth often raise children who either rebel or become excessively anxious, seeking to avoid punishment rather than developing internal motivation. Permissive parents, again, who are lenient and indulgent, tend to raise children who struggle with self-control and responsibility, while neglectful parenting can lead to issues of trust and insecurity. The good news is that by changing your approach, you can alter your child's behavior in a profound way. Consider the work of Alfie Kohn, a prominent voice in progressive parenting, who argues that traditional methods of reward and punishment often backfire. And according to Kohn, these methods teach children to act out of fear or in pursuit of external validation rather than internalizing positive behaviors. What children need instead is a relationship with their parents built on trust, mutual respect, and open communication. When parents change their approach from controlling their child's behavior to supporting their growth, children naturally begin to shift their response. Take, for example, a child who constantly resists performing a certain task. A parent who uses authoritarian methods might respond with threats of punishment, believing that fear will motivate the child. In reality, the child's resistance may stem from feeling overwhelmed or anxious about the work, emotions that are only heightened by parental pressure. A more effective strategy grounded in authoritative parenting would involve sitting down with the child, listening to their concerns, and working together to create a plan for success. By showing empathy and offering support rather than punishment, you address the underlying issue rather than just their surface behavior. Another key factor in how children adopt to their parents is emotional regulation. Research by people like John Gottman on emotional intelligence highlight the importance of parents teaching children how to manage their emotions. But here's the catch. You can't teach emotional regulation if you're not practicing it yourself. Children are highly attuned to their parents' emotional states, and if you are constantly reacting with anger or frustration, your child will learn to respond in the same way. The first step then is to manage your own emotions. Take a deep breath, model calmness, and approach conflicts with a level head. When you regulate your emotions, you create a safe and stable environment in which your child can learn to do the same. Changing your parenting style can feel challenging, but small shifts can lead to significant changes in your child's behavior. Start by reflecting on your current approach. Are you too controlling or are you too lenient? Are you consistent in your expectations and do you follow through? Do you listen to your child's feelings and work to understand the root cause of their behavior? To change your child's behavior, the transformation has to start with you. Your child will adapt to the cues you provide. So if you model respect, empathy, and emotional regulation, they will respond in kind. Parenting is a journey of growth, not just for your child, but for you as well. So committing to this growth, you create a foundation for your child to develop into a well-adjusted, emotionally healthy individual. And the behaviors you once sought to fix will likely begin to resolve themselves. Thank you for your time. See you in the next lesson. Children will always mess up, and when they do, your response will shape how they view mistakes and even themselves. Your goal should not be to punish or shame, but to help them learn and grow. Certain things that you say can facilitate this process, but if delivered carelessly, even well-meaning words can come across as insincere or patronizing, leaving your child feeling misunderstood or even traumatized. So, how do you make these conversations more effective while ensuring your child doesn't feel judged or dismissed? And I can give you a few phrases that are simple and I believe helpful in assisting you navigate your relationship with your child, especially when they mess up. 1, you are not in trouble. I just want to understand what happened. This phrase can be powerful for setting a non-punitive tone, but be careful not to use it as a prelude to an interrogation. If your child senses that you've already made up your mind about what they did, saying you just want to understand can seem like a bait and switch tactic. To make this phrase work, genuinely adopt a curious and open-minded attitude. Let your tone reflect your willingness to understand and avoid asking loaded questions or pressing for specific details that suggest blame. Your child needs to feel that you are seeking clarity, not confirmation of your assumptions. When you approach them with true curiosity, it shows that you respect their perspective and are interested in finding a solution together. Number 2, how do you feel about what happened? While this question encourages your child to reflect, it can backfire if delivered in a tone that implies judgment or disappointment. Asking it with a hint of expectation that they should feel a certain way, such as guilt or regret, can pressure your child to say what they think you want to hear rather than honestly expressing their emotions. So instead, make sure your tone is neutral and be prepared for responses that may not align with what you hope for. This creates a space where your child can process their emotions freely. And remember, your role is to guide them through understanding their feelings, not to dictate how they should feel about the situation. A third question that you could ask is, what do you think you could do differently next time? This is a constructive question, but if it's asked too soon, it can make your child feel like you are rushing past their emotions and straight into problem solving. Your child first needs time to process what happened before considering alternatives for the future. Start by acknowledging their feelings and then gently transition to discussing potential changes they could make next time. This signals that you understand the emotional weight of their mistake and are not just concerned with fixing their behavior. When used carefully, this phrase can bring critical thinking without implying that their worth is tied to avoiding future mistakes. Another statement, thank you for sharing with me and owning your mistakes. Praising a child for taking responsibility can be a positive reinforcement, but it's important to avoid overdoing it. If your gratitude is exaggerated, it may seem like you didn't really expect them to be honest, potentially leading your child to feel patronized. A simple acknowledgement delivered calmly will be more effective. The aim is to encourage honesty as a norm, not as something extraordinary or rare. Another statement, let's figure out how you will apologize and make things right. Encouraging your child to make steps towards making amends is an important part of learning responsibility. However, framing this in a way that feels obligatory or punitive can cause your child to view apologies as a forced ritual rather than a sincere act. Make it clear that the goal is to help others feel better and to restore any damaged relationships, not just to avoid consequences. Involve your child in deciding how to make things right rather than prescribing a set action. When your child messes up, they are already dealing with the weight of their own emotions. Use these phrases carefully, not as mere scripts, but as genuine expressions of your desire to understand, connect, and help them grow. The way you respond can either enforce shame or help them build resilience and accountability. Be wise. Thank you for your time. See you in the next lesson. You naturally want to provide the best for your children as a parent, ensuring they have every opportunity to thrive and do well. When it comes to raising boys, Warren Farrell's The Boys Crisis sheds light on a critical issue that may not be fully appreciated: dad deprivation. The absence or emotional unavailability of a father figure in a boy's life has profound and far-reaching effects. Understanding the research on dad deprivation is essential because it reveals the specific and irreplaceable roles fathers play, roles that are uniquely suited to their socio-psychological strengths and cannot simply be replicated by mothers. Dad deprivation refers to the lack of a father figure's consistent presence and engagement in a child's life. For boys, this absence is particularly detrimental, leading to a range of negative outcomes, including higher rates of school dropout, criminal behavior, mental health issues, and substance abuse. These boys often experience a deep emotional void and a struggle with identity, which creates a lifelong challenge in developing self-worth and finding direction. While it may seem logical to assume that a mother can fill the gap left by an absent father, research indicates otherwise. Fathers and mothers generally offer different, though complementary, parenting styles, both of which are crucial for a child's balanced development. Sociopsychological studies have shown that fathers typically engage in parenting that emphasizes risk-taking, boundary setting, and independence. This type of engagement often involves activities like rough and tumble play, which teaches boys how to manage aggression, negotiate rules, and handle physical and emotional challenges. Mothers, on the other hand, are more likely to emphasize nurturing, protection, and emotional support, focusing on creating a safe and secure environment. So, this difference is not just about behavior, but also about psychological development. Fathers often push boys to take risks and face failures, which is crucial for building resilience and confidence. Boys learn to navigate the world through a lens of exploration and experimentation, understanding that failure is a part of learning. In contrast, the nurturing style of mothers does not typically encourage the same level of risk-taking or independence. This distinction is further supported by socio-psychological theories on gender roles and social learning. Boys often model their behavior after the men in their lives, learning what it means to be a man through observation and imitation. A father's role in this process is important because it provides a real-time example of masculinity, demonstrating how to manage emotions, handle conflicts, and interact socially. When a father is absent, boys lack this critical model, which leads to confusion about their own identities and how to express their masculinity. Fathers often teach boys how to express emotions constructively and manage their impulses, lessons that are vital in a world where emotional intelligence is increasingly recognized as key to personal and professional success. While mothers are also instrumental in emotional development, their approach tends to be more protective, focusing on empathy and communication. Fathers complement this by providing strategies for emotional resilience and assertiveness, which are particularly important for boys navigating societal expectations of masculinity. Therefore, as a parent, recognizing the distinct and irreplaceable role fathers play in their sons' lives is important. If you are a father, your active involvement and emotional availability are invaluable to your son's development. If you are a mother, understanding the unique contributions a father makes can help you support and facilitate a positive father-son relationship. If their father is absent, seeking out a positive male role model can provide some of the guidance and support that is otherwise missing. So, is dad deprivation really such a big deal for boys? The answer is an emphatic yes. A very, very big deal. The research on dad deprivation is very clear on this. It is not about diminishing the role of mothers, but rather highlighting the unique contributions fathers make to their sons' development. And therefore, by acknowledging these differences, appreciating the unique role of fathers, and taking steps to address them, you can help ensure that your son grows up with the balanced support and guidance he needs to thrive in every aspect of his life. Thank you for your time. See you in the next one. When you step in to help your child with tasks they can handle themselves, you may think you are being supportive, but by consistently doing so, you are disempowering them. It is not just about being overly involved. It's about hindering their growth by depriving them of the chance to develop self-reliance, confidence, and problem-solving skills. True, empowerment means providing the right kind of support, offering guidance without taking over, and allowing your child to navigate challenges on their own. One way to recognize if you are helping too much is by reflecting on your child's reactions to challenges. If they regularly look to you for help at their first sight of difficulty, it may indicate that they've grown accustomed to your intervention. This suggests that your assistance has become a safety net rather than a learning opportunity. Another sign is if your child shows a lack of persistence in tasks they find challenging. If they quickly give up or appear unwilling to try without your immediate input, they might have internalized the belief that success is dependent on your involvement rather than their own efforts. Developmental psychology, particularly Lev Vygotsky's concept of zone of proximal development called ZPD, offers insights into where your support should be targeted. The ZPD represents the space between what a child can do independently and what they can achieve with guidance. If you are doing tasks that fall within this zone without allowing them to try fast, you are not just helping, you are taking away crucial learning moments. Effective parenting involves recognizing when to step back and when to provide just enough assistance to push their capabilities further. It's about supporting them to the extent that they can almost do it alone, and then gradually withdrawing that support to encourage independence. Carol Dweck's work on mindset theory reinforces the idea that children develop a belief in their capabilities when they solve problems through their own efforts. When parents intervene too readily, they send the unintentional message that the child is incapable of handling things alone. Over time, this creates learned helplessness, where a child begins to doubt their abilities and avoid taking initiative. This pattern of dependency can have lasting effects, leading to a reluctance to tackle challenges or take risks in future. To gauge if you are intervening too much, observe whether you are providing answers instead of asking questions that stimulate the child's thinking. If your involvement consistently resolves problems rather than prompting them to think through solutions themselves, it's a sign that you are overstepping. Effective support should involve guiding them to find their own way, not solving the problems for them. Consider whether your child is taking responsibility for their own tasks. If you frequently find yourself reminding them about responsibilities or taking over when they don't meet expectations, it may be time to reassess how much you are doing for them. Another key factor is timing. Pay attention to how quickly you step in when your child struggles. If you offer help too soon, you are undermining their chance to work through frustration and find solutions. The discomfort of struggle is not only normal, but necessary for developing resilience. Allowing them space to grapple with challenges communicates your belief in their ability to overcome difficulties, which in turn strengthens their belief in themselves. Ultimately, the aim is to encourage your child to stretch their capabilities without overwhelming them. It's about striking a balance where your guidance challenges them to grow while still being within reach of their abilities. Empowerment doesn't mean abandoning your child to figure everything out on their own. It means equipping them with the tools and confidence to navigate life's complexities independently. When you hold back from helping too much, you give your child the chance to discover their own resourcefulness. Your restraint becomes an act of trust and respect in their abilities. It allows them to experience small failures and successes alike, which are necessary to building resilience. By recognizing when your help crosses the line from support to disempowerment, you enable your child to cultivate the skills they need to face the world with confidence without your undue interference. Thank you for your time. See you in the next lesson. Teaching your child delayed gratification is one of the most valuable lessons you can give them for long-term success. Deferred gratification, or the ability to resist an immediate reward in favor of a more significant later benefit, is more than just a matter of discipline. It's an important life skill that impacts your child's academic performance, social skills, financial habits, and overall resilience. The importance of deferred gratification has been highlighted by the famous marshmallow test, a study conducted by psychologist Walter Mischel in the 1960s. In this experiment, children were given a choice: eat one marshmallow right away or wait 15 minutes to receive two. The long-term results were remarkable. Those who waited for the second marshmallow tended to achieve higher grades, manage stress better, have lower levels of substance abuse, and enjoy more stable relationships. This experiment shows that the ability to delay gratification is linked to greater self-control and a stronger ability to handle life's challenges. When you teach your child to delay gratification, you're helping them develop skills that are fundamental to future success. It's not just about saying no to an immediate pleasure. It's about training their mind to focus on long-term rewards rather than getting distracted by short-term temptations. When your child holds off immediate gratification, they are developing the mental discipline needed to prioritize responsibilities as they grow up. This skill becomes even more important in adulthood when balancing tasks like financial management, investing in education, or working towards career goals that require a focus on the future. Teaching your child deferred gratification also builds a strong sense of self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is the belief in one's ability to successfully execute tasks and overcome challenges to achieve specific goals. When your child learns to control their impulses, they start to believe that they can influence the outcomes in their life. This belief creates a growth mindset where they see challenges as chances to improve rather than obstacles to avoid. Research shows that children who believe their efforts lead to success are more likely to push through difficulties and achieve their goals. You also play a powerful role as a model for your child. They watch and imitate what you do. So if they see you delaying gratification, they are more likely to adopt that mindset. Talk to your child about your choices and explain why you decided to wait and how it benefited you in the end. These conversations make the concept more relatable and show them that deferred gratification has real-world payoffs. Encouraging hobbies is also a good way to teach delayed gratification. The results of effort in hobbies naturally involve delayed gratification, such as learning a musical instrument, playing a sport, or working on long-term projects. These activities teach your child that dedication over time leads to improvement and accomplishment, rewarding them in ways that quick fixes never can. Keep in mind that every child is different. Some may find it harder to delay gratification than others. So be patient and celebrate your child's small victories along the way. It is important to avoid framing the experience as a punishment for wanting something immediately. Instead, focus on reinforcing their moments of self-control and emphasize the positive feelings associated with waiting for a better reward. Deferred gratification isn't about denying your child's happiness. It's about helping them make wise choices that lead to greater satisfaction in life. Think of it as planting a seed. You won't see the fruit right away, but with time, care, and persistence, the growth will be remarkable. Teaching your child to wait isn't just a lesson in patience. It's a cornerstone for building a successful and fulfilling life. When they learn to choose the long-term rewards over the short-term temptation, you are equipping them with a mindset that will help them thrive in the world. Go try it. Thank you. See you in the next one. Remember when your child was all smiles and yes, mommy, or yes, daddy, and they did as they were told, and you could practically predict their every move. And now they've started talking back, questioning your rules, and let's be honest, testing your patience. Before you panic or start labeling them as disrespectful, let me be clear. This isn't a sign of rebellion. It is a sign that your child is growing up as they should. When your child was obedient and agreeable, they weren't displaying some extraordinary moral character. They simply hadn't yet developed the autonomy of thought required to question you. Developmental psychologists like Eric Erikson and Jean Piaget emphasize that a child's early years are marked by dependence and trust in caregivers. In Erikson's framework, children in the first few stages of psychosocial development are learning to trust the world and assert their autonomy in small ways. They are not questioning authority because their cognitive and emotional capacities to do so are still forming. But as they grow, a shift occurs. Piaget's stages of cognitive development explain this shift well. Around age 9, children begin entering the concrete operational stage where they start developing logical thought. By adolescence, they move into formal operational stage, which introduces abstract reasoning. They begin to question not just what is, but why it is that way. This questioning is not defiance, it is intellectual growth. Talking back, challenging your rules, and debating your authority are signs that your critical thinking skills are kicking in. It's biology. It's not about you. So, what happens when your once compliant child starts challenging you? Many parents make the mistake of interpreting this as a lack of respect. But labeling it that way shuts down an opportunity for growth, both theirs and yours. If you treat every why do I have to as rebellion, you risk obstructing their development and missing the chance to guide them through this critical stage of forming their identity. The truth is, your child's job is to grow into an independent adult, and questioning authority is part of that process. Without the ability to think critically and assert themselves, your child will struggle to navigate a world that demands resilience, confidence, and discernment. Blind obedience may have made them easy to manage as children, but as adults, it leaves them vulnerable to manipulation and poor decision making. So, What should you do when the back talk begins? First, take a step back and reframe the situation. Recognize that their questioning is not about disrespect, it's about learning to assert themselves. Responding with anger or harsh discipline will only escalate tensions and teach them to associate questioning with punishment, affecting their confidence. Instead, engage them. If they ask why a rule exists, explain it. If they challenge your decision, hear them out. This doesn't mean you should bend to their every whim, but it does mean you should show them that their voice matters. This approach teaches them two critical lessons. One, how to question respectively, and how to accept boundaries when they are explained thoughtfully. At the same time, set clear limits. Talking back is one thing, being rude or dismissive is another. Teach your child the difference. Model the behavior you expect by listening to them without interrupting or belittling their concerns. When they see you handle disagreement with composure, they are more likely to emulate it. Remember, growth is messy. Your child is testing boundaries not because they want to break them, but because they are learning where those boundaries lie and why they matter. So when your child starts talking back, don't see it as a loss of the sweet obedience, the little ones you knew. See it as a step forward, a sign that they are learning to stand on their own two feet. Your job isn't to silence their questions, it's to teach them how to ask the right ones and to do so respectfully. After all, your goal isn't to raise a child who follows every rule blindly. It is to raise an adult who knows when to follow, when to question, and how to follow. All prerequisites in learning how to lead and how to live. Thank you. See you in the next lesson. When most schools talk about play, if they ever do, it is as if it is a side hustle for the kids. But for children, play is far from a mere pastime, a side hustle. It is their main hustle. Play is the most important work they do to make sense of the world around them. Play is the method by which they learn to walk, to balance, to understand special relationships, to feel and process pain, and to communicate their needs. When children enter school, this critical learning process is downplayed. They do important academic work. When they need to play, they are allowed a timed break to play, and then they can return to important, serious work in class. Yet for children, play is the important, serious work, their main hustle. Breaks are to do other things, academics included. In their earlier years, children learn even the most basic functions like eating, walking, and using their hands through play. Studies by developmental psychologist Alison Gopnik show that even infants use play to explore and test hypotheses about the world, laying the groundwork for physical coordination and spatial reasoning before they can speak or even follow instructions. A research paper published in Frontiers in Psychology shows that play activities like running, jumping, and climbing stimulate parts of the brain responsible for motor control and cognitive development. Yet when children enter school, much of this unstructured movement stops. The classroom demands they sit still, follow a set curriculum, and focus more on academic tasks than on their main hustle, which is play. As a main hustle, play serves as a vital avenue for your child's social, emotional, linguistic, and cognitive development. Through games like hide and seek or pretend play, your child learns cooperation, negotiation, and social roles, while also processing adult behaviors and developing empathy and problem solving and emotional regulation. These forms of play provide your child with crucial emotional rehearsals, helping them manage feelings and build resilience. Language development also flourishes during play as imaginative conversations enhance vocabulary and creativity, something formal education often lacks. Play also offers hands-on lessons about the physical world, teaching your child concepts like gravity and balance through direct experience, in contrast to the more abstract learning that typically happens in the classroom. When play becomes a side hustle in school, these basic foundational learnings are no longer the primary focus of your child's day. The highly structured environment of school often shifts the emphasis to sitting still, listening to instructions, and producing measurable outputs. While academic knowledge is important, sidelining play in favor of formalized learning neglects the developmental aspects that your child is primed to absorb through play. And research highlights that children in schools with less emphasis on playtime exhibit high levels of stress, lower engagement in learning, and poorer physical health outcomes. Before formal education begins, play is a main hustle through which your child learns how to move, communicate, understand others, and interpret the world around them. It is how they develop their bodies, their minds, and their social skills. But by the time they enter school, everything they know is a product of play. Yet schools often demote play to a side hustle, treating it as a break from the real learning. This shift undermines the rich multidimensional education that your child naturally engages in. The reality is that play cannot be easily replaced by structured academic tasks, nor should it be. To truly support your child's total development, you must recognize that play is not the side hustle, but the main hustle, and ensure it remains central to their learning journey in school. The question here is your child's school ready for a conversation which does not treat play as a side hustle? But more importantly, are you aware of the role of play in your child's life? And are you prepared to push this conversation for the sake of your child, even if their school does not want to have it? From birth, play is your child's main hustle. If you do not ask the right questions and push the right policies, school is more than happy to push it into a side hustle. Thank you for your time. See you in the next lesson. If you teach your kid only one thing, let it be frustration tolerance. In a world dominated by instant gratification, where everything from entertainment to food is available at the tap of a screen, many modern kids are growing up without the skills to handle even minor frustrations. And yet, this very skill, often referred to as grit in educational literature, is a critical predictor of long-term success. Psychologist Angela Duckworth, renowned for her work on grit, defines it as a combination of passion and perseverance for long-term goals. She argues that grit, more than talent or IQ, is what differentiates high achievers from those who give up in the face of adversity. To ensure your child cultivates grit and thrives, teaching frustration tolerance is a must, and it starts at home. As a parent, you are your child's first and most influential teacher when it comes to emotional resilience. Research shows that parental influence plays a significant role in shaping a child's ability to tolerate frustration. Albert Bandura's social learning theory emphasizes the importance of modeling in learning behavior, meaning children often mirror how their parents handle stress, frustration, and setbacks. If they see you calmly working through your own frustration, they are more likely to adopt the same approach. But if you tend to avoid or react impulsively to frustration, your children will internalize that response as well. One key aspect of teaching frustration tolerance is allowing your child to experience it. Many parents, out of misguided love and a desire for protection, shield their children from frustration. While the impulse is understandable, research shows that children who are protected from failure and frustration tend to develop a fixed mindset. They believe their abilities are innate and unchangeable, which leads them to avoid challenges for fear of failure. In contrast, children with a growth mindset see failure and frustration as opportunities to learn and improve, and they tend to persevere in the face of difficulties. Furthermore, research on emotional regulation suggests that children who learn to tolerate frustration are better equipped to handle stress, anxiety, and other negative emotions later in life. A study by Eisenberg and others found that children who demonstrate higher emotional regulation skills, such as managing frustration, show better social adjustment and academic success. When children learn to manage frustration effectively, they are more likely to develop healthy coping mechanisms that can prevent emotional burnout or avoidance of challenges. It is also important to normalize failure as part of the learning process. Too often, school has led children to believe that failure is something to be avoided at all costs, which creates an unhealthy fear of making mistakes. Help your child see that every failure is an opportunity for growth, not a dead end. Share your own experiences with frustration and failure, demonstrating that setbacks are a universal part of life and not a reflection of one's worth or intelligence. Allowing your child to encounter frustration prepares them for the real world, where things don't always go smoothly. The educational theorist Lev Vygotsky proposed the concept of the zone of proximal development, which suggests that children learn best when they are slightly challenged, pushed just beyond their current abilities, but not so far that they become overwhelmed. Frustration tolerance is critical in navigating this zone, as it helps children stay motivated and engaged even when tasks are difficult. Your role as a parent is not to eliminate frustration from your child's life, but to teach them how to manage it. By allowing your child to face manageable challenges, offering support but not interference, and modeling calm perseverance, you help build their grit. Frustration tolerance is not just a skill for surviving difficult moments, it is a cornerstone of long-term success. Grounded in psychological and educational research, this ability to handle setbacks and persevere is a foundation for grit, emotional regulation, and a growth mindset. And if you teach your child only one thing, let it be how to manage frustration with patience and persistence. This is the skill that will guide them through the challenges of modern life, setting them up for enduring success. Thank you for your time. See you in the next one. It is a common practice for parents to use house chores as punishment for their children. If you're doing this, please stop. Here's why. Using chores as punishment sets the stage for a distorted understanding of work and responsibility. Chores, at their core, should not be associated with punitive measures. Rather, they are vital components of everyday life, teaching accountability, cooperation, and the value of contributing to the collective good. When you use chores and position them as punishment, you warp your child's perception of work and responsibility, creating very unhealthy associations between work and punishment that will persist into adulthood. When you impose chores as a consequence for undesirable behavior, your child begins to associate work with a sense of wrongdoing. The child comes to believe that work is something to avoid, a negative outcome tied to mistakes or disobedience. The problem here is clear. Work should not be synonymous with punishment. But by using chores in this way, you condition your child to view tasks as cleaning, organizing, or assisting in household maintenance as something punitive, rather than as a natural, essential part of life and their contribution. Research has shown that intrinsic motivation, the internal drive to perform activities because they are inherently satisfying or necessary, plays a crucial role in how individuals engage with tasks. By turning chores into a punishment, you sabotage your opportunity for your child to develop intrinsic motivation towards work. Instead, the child's focus shifts towards the external consequences, avoiding punishment, rather than understanding the inherent value of contributing to the family unit or learning how to maintain a household. This mindset is not easily reversed. Over time, children raised with this punitive association with chores will avoid work altogether or engage with it begrudgingly with the least amount of effort necessary. Work in all its forms becomes an obstacle to be overcome, a source of frustration rather than fulfillment. The child who was taught that chores are a form of punishment will one day struggle with workplace responsibilities, viewing their professional duties through a similar negative lens. The likelihood of avoiding or resenting work in later life becomes all the more real. Isn't just about a reluctance to help around the house. This could set a precedent for how they approach every form of labor in the future, from academics to their career. It is therefore important that you frame chores as shared responsibilities. They should be a part of daily life, not something imposed only when a rule has been broken. Assigning chores appropriately based on age and capability and doing it consistently and outside of punishment becomes a way of for children to learn important life skills such as time management, planning, and perseverance without the baggage of negative reinforcement. So, how should you handle chores? Chores should be non-negotiable responsibilities that children learn to integrate into their routines, much like brushing their teeth or getting dressed. The expectation should not be that chores are used to punish when something has gone wrong. Instead, they are part of the fabric of daily life, much like any other responsibility. When children see work as something that everyone does rather than as a punishment to escape, they are more likely to approach it with a healthy mindset. Consider this. Imagine your child growing up with the belief that work is punishment. Every task at work or school becomes a reminder of their past misdeeds, reinforcing the idea that labor is a consequence of failure. Now imagine a different reality where your child sees work as an opportunity, a chance to grow, contribute, and learn. The difference is profound, and it all begins with how you frame the reality of chores. Chores as punishment warp reality, but work in its true form is the basis of human progress. Turn chores into a lesson about work and responsibility, not retribution, and you will find your child ready to embrace the demands of life with confidence and understanding. To punish your child with chores is to cripple them, to tie a huge stone to your child's future. Don't do it. Praise is a powerful tool in parenting. It encourages your child, boosts their self-esteem, and reinforces positive behavior. But like any tool, its effectiveness depends on how it's used. In their enthusiasm to support their children, some parents fall into the trap of overpraising. While the intentions are good, the consequences can be detrimental. Overpraising turns your child into a chronic underachiever, praised for mundane and mediocre achievements so that they fall or they fail to challenge themselves to their full potential. Praise is intended to motivate and inspire your child. When overused, it loses its value and can create a skewed perception of achievement. Children who are constantly praised for every minor accomplishment start to believe that minimal effort is sufficient. This leads to a complacent attitude where they do not strive to improve or push their boundaries. Overpraising creates a false sense of competence. When your child receives constant praise for basic tasks, they will develop an inflated self-image. This results in them avoiding more challenging tasks, fearing that they might not live up to the high expectations set by their previous praise. This avoidance leads to chronic underachievement as they settle for mediocrity rather than striving for higher performance. When you overpraise your child, they will also become afraid of failure. They will avoid taking risks or trying new things because they fear that any failure would undermine the praise they have already received. This fear of failure affects their growth and prevents them from learning through mistakes and setbacks, which are important for personal development and resilience. The other downside of overpraising your child is that it shifts your child's focus from intrinsic motivation to extrinsic motivation and the seeking of external validation. When your child performs tasks solely to receive praise, they will lose interest in the activities themselves. This leads to a lack of passion and genuine engagement in what they do, as their primary goal becomes seeking approval rather than enjoying the process. So, to avoid the pitfalls of overpraising, it's important to set realistic expectations for praise. Not every action needs to be celebrated. Instead, focus on praising specific efforts and improvements. Effective praise should encourage effort and resilience. Celebrate when your child perseveres through a difficult task or when they show improvement over time. This type of praise reinforces the value of hard work and determination. It teaches your child that success is achieved through effort and persistence, not just inherent talent. Balance is important. Apologize alongside praise. Provide constructive feedback that helps your child understand areas of improvement. Constructive feedback should be specific, focusing on behaviors and actions rather than personal attributes. For example, instead of saying you didn't do well, you could say, I noticed you struggled with this part. Let's work on it together. This approach helps children see feedback as a tool for growth rather than a negative judgment. True self-esteem comes from achieving meaningful goals and overcoming challenges. Encourage your child to set realistic, attainable goals and praise their progress towards these goals. Celebrate their successes, but also acknowledge the effort and learning involved in the journey without overpraising. This builds a sense of competence and confidence that is based on real achievements. Pay attention to how your child responds to praise. If you notice they are becoming overly dependent on praise or avoiding challenges, it may be time to adjust your approach. Encourage self-reflection by asking them how they feel about their accomplishments and what they learned from the experience. This helps them internalize their achievements and develop a healthy sense of self-worth. So, while praise is an important tool in parenting, it must be used carefully. Overpraising leads to chronic underachievement, fear of failure, and a lack of intrinsic motivation. By setting realistic expectations, encouraging effort and resilience, balancing praise with constructive feedback, and building self-esteem through real achievements, you can help your child reach their full potential. Remember, the goal is to raise resilient, motivated, and self-sufficient kids who strive for excellence because they find joy and satisfaction in their accomplishments, not just because they seek external validation and praise. Thank you for your time. See you in the next one.